Welcome to the Finding the Magic podcast, where books come alive. I'm Tricia Copeland, a fiction author and host of this show. If you love books, finding great reads, and hearing about the story behind the story directly from the authors, this is the place for you. Whether you like fantasy, science fiction, dystopian, or romance titles, I think you'll find something to love in my playlist. Listen in to discover something magical about a book or two today. Welcome, Mark.
Hi there. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for being here. We have Mark Golding. He mostly is a sci-fi, I'll call it dystopian author, has 2 books out. One's a children's book, and your new release is The End. Kind of a dystopian adult, right?
Yeah, it was very different from the first book. I'll tell you a little bit about my background. I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher in a high school, and I've always wanted to write. We have, within our education system, we have A levels. I know you have SATs. We have GCSEs and A levels. I did English for A level, but then rather than do English at university, I went to do law, and kind of fell away. And I did that for a while before I retrained as a teacher. And I found that I didn't have the time to do any writing, but I always had lots of ideas. I've got a notebook which is always in front of me. It's always been there. Lots of ideas that I jot down. And it was only during the first COVID lockdown, we had quite a long extended lockdown here in the UK, that I was a teacher. The schools were closed. I was at home a lot. I just found the time to start writing, and that's when I'd always wanted to write adult science fiction. I'm a huge fan of kind of 70s and 80s science fiction, both literature and films. So things like Invasive Body Snatchers, but I'm a huge Stephen King fan. James Herbert, a great horror author. But I decided to write a book for my nephew during the pandemic, he was struggling during that particular time. And I know we're going to talk about the children's book later, but that's where kind of the impetus was for writing a children's book rather than an adult book. It started out as a story for my nephew, and I just carried on and created this world for Joseph, who is my nephew, and that's where we got that. Yeah.
Well, I feel like that happens with a lot of authors. Like once you write your first book or your first piece, then you have the bug and you're going to keep writing.
Yeah. No, I think so. That's what certainly happened. Once I started the first one, Out of Time, I really couldn't stop, and I was really excited to get it finished. And in actual fact, I wrote far too much. It was a children's book that was about, well, it was like War and Peace by the time I finished. So there was lots that had to come out. So I got lots of people to read it, including my nephew, and my wife particularly was really good. Bear in mind, I'd never written a book before, so I didn't know anything about editing. I didn't know about things like, POV and third person limited. It was all over the place. The book really was. But I worked really hard to bring it down. It was about 70,000 words. It wasn't War and Peace, and I got it down to about 35,000 words for the first book. And then I thought, well, what I'm going to have to do is, because I'm new to this. I don't teach English. I'm a business studies teacher. I'm a law teacher. I'm going to have to get this professionally edited. So I sent it to an editor. That came back there was a huge report of things that needed to be changed. So I spent some time doing a second draft, then a third draft, and then a proofread, and then I was happy with it. I then contacted an illustrator, and an illustrator created some pictures. In fact, the reviews of the book, the illustrations are seen as some of the strengths. Not just the illustrations, but they are seen as a positive. And then I didn't really know where to go then. That was it. I had the book. It had gone through quite a few drafts. It had been edited. It had been professionally edited. I had some lovely illustrations. And so I let my wife read it again, who thought it was amazing, and said, right, just send it out to some publishers. Again, this was back in 2022. I didn't know anything about agents. I just sent it out to some kind of publishers in the UK, and got some offers, and luckily it was published in 2023, and it was a first book. I'm not going to say it hasn't changed my life in terms of financially, it's changed my life in terms of, you know, the enjoyment I got from writing it and seeing it, you know, as a complete kind of book. But it, you know, it didn't change my life financially. But as you said, I did get the bug, and I just wanted to continue. And it was really nice as well, because the book, it got some really nice reviews. It did win an award here in the UK. So yeah, it was great. It was a nice start. And then from then on, I've kept going, and every little bit of free time I get, I just write. And if I'm not writing, I'm making notes for ideas. So yeah, really, it's changed my life. Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun. And what we should just talk about Out of Time while we're on the subject. So 12-year-old main character, tell me a little bit about the premise of the book.
So again, Joe Jackson, who's the main character, is actually my nephew, Joseph Jackson. Very much is the young boy in the book. He was struggling with, as I said, during lockdown. So I thought I'd, you know, write him a story, and you know, that's where it started. But in terms of the actual story itself, as I said, I'm obsessed with kind of 80s and 90s kind of entertainment, particularly science fiction. And so I knew I wanted to write a time travel story. Absolutely wanted to write a time travel story. And I knew that Joseph was obsessed with dinosaurs, as many young boys are. I was myself back in the 80s. So I decided to write a story about Joseph visiting the dinosaurs, the Cretaceous period in dinosaur time, and you know, we created this adventure where he'd gone back. He met an alien who had a time machine. They go back in time to the Cretaceous period. There's a reason they go there. They don't just go. You know, there's a villain in the book, and lots of things happen. Kind of not because, you know, Joe doesn't decide to go there. He goes there accidentally. There's things that happen. And I wrote this small section about the dinosaurs and about what would happen if, you know, Joseph or whoever it was trapped in there when you were waiting for, knowing that the comet that is going to kind of make the dinosaurs extinct, knowing that that's on the way. There's a film that came out about 2 years ago called 65, which is not about, it's not a children's film, but it's very much about that. It's about people from the future who go back and they find themselves trapped on Earth during this period of time when this comet's arriving. I have to say, I wrote this book before that film was even out, so it was out before that. But it's very much that premise. So we wrote the adventures. There's lots of adventures with the dinosaurs. They eventually are able to escape. They fix the time machine that they've got. They're able to escape just before the comet crashes. And I didn't want to end there. So then I thought, what else? And I'll be honest, I thought, what was I interested in when I was at primary school? You do call it primary school in America, do you? I don't know.
Elementary
school, yeah. And the Romans was the next thing that I was interested in. So then we moved the story onto kind of Roman Britain, and lots of kind of adventures around Roman Britain, and you know, we've got Stonehenge in there. And then after that, we go to the Middle Ages. So effectively, it's 3 stories in one, with a common theme. That we start in the dinosaur period, we go to the Roman Britain, then we go to the Middle Ages, and then he manages to get home. But all the way through, there's a mission effectively that he's got to solve, and a baddie that they've got to defeat. So yeah, it was a really exciting book. I still love it. I've written the end, and I'm really pleased with that. And I've got lots of other, I'm just looking down at manuscripts that I'm working through, but obviously this was the first one. I mean, there it is. It's a bit blurry, I think. This was the first one, and I'm so passionate about it. I love this story so much. I really do.
Well, it sounds super exciting, and it sounds like something that could lend itself to a series too. I mean, Joseph could, right, but stay friends with this alien and keep going places, maybe.
Yeah, so absolutely. And when I first wrote it, when it was first published, that was the plan. Probably it really is still the plan, eventually. But I decided that I wanted to write stories, at least 3, that took him up to his 18th birthday, because he's 12 in the first book. But as I said, when I kind of got this bug, and then I decided that I wanted to write what I was really interested in, which was kind of adult science fiction, dystopian. But that doesn't say that that doesn't mean Joe Jackson won't be back. I can see a sequel. I already know what it would involve. Just got to get around to doing it. So, yeah.
Right. Fun. Well, yeah, around work and all your other things in your life.
Well, that's the thing. It's really obviously with being a full-time teacher, you've got to find the time to do this. If I was a full-time writer, I think I'd have written it already. But yeah, it's teaching is a very busy job. So yeah,
definitely. So that brings us to the end, which is the name of, and I called it dystopian. Maybe it's more of a sci-fi, but I think a comet is coming.
Right. Yeah,
coming to hit the world in this book too, right?
Yeah. So there is a theme. There is a comet in this book, like there was in Out of Time. There is, but what we find in the end is, if anyone that reads it, and there's been some lovely reviews, they're on Goodreads. You can see my kind of inspiration, and again that goes back to the kind of 80s and 90s, the literature, the films as well. So I was very inspired by a number of kind of stories. Invasion of the Body Snatchers was something that I really, really love. So I started out when I wrote this book, and when I plan out what I'm going to write, and I try and kind of break it down into the 3-act structure. I write down what I'm going to do, but it never sticks to that. I'll write some ideas down, and then what happens when I've finished, it'll be completely different. So with the end, I wanted to write kind of my kind of homage to Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and so we start out with this comet that kind of is visible across the whole world. It's a newly discovered comet. It's kind of people are in awe of it. It's wonderful. It's like when Halley's Comet comes by. It's something people are really excited about. But without giving too much away, it causes changes in certain people. And I'm not giving it away by saying that it's people with a certain blood type. So the kind of I think in the synopsis to the book, it talks about ABs. Well, the ABs are people with AB negative blood. So I thought, what could be a nice original way to, and I can't think of any other story where it's a particular blood type that has an impact on people. So the comet, it causes some changes in the behavior of people with this blood type. And over the course of the book, it becomes a little bit more extreme. So it starts out with behavioral changes. People tend to take more risks. They one of the two of the main characters, Martin and Katie, who we meet at the beginning. Martin is a teacher, like myself, and Katie is a barrister. You'll find in my stories, not so much Out of Time, but because of the two things I know about really are kind of teaching and law, they're often lawyers and teachers within the stories. So Katie is AB negative, and so we see her change, and it starts with kind of her taking more risks, and then becoming much more confident, and we see a completely different Katie towards the end of the first act, really. And she leaves Martin and becomes kind of embroiled in the criminal underworld in Australia. So she's got some Australian heritage. And we find out that this is happening all over the world to lots of different people in terms of those people with that particular blood type. Fast forward a few years and the comet comes back. It's on a relatively kind of short orbit. And when the comet comes back, we see much more physical changes. And again, I don't want to give too much away, but the book leans on, I don't know if you remember the program V. It was a program in the 80s, an American science fiction program. It's about lizard people. That's effectively what it was from space. And so we find that the ABs, the people with AB negative blood, are slowly becoming these kind of alien creatures who resemble reptiles. But at the same time, the return of the comet has caused behavioral changes in everyone else. So and they're not, and what that means is people have gone a little bit mad. It's kind of like the Crazies meets Dawn of the Dead. So people have gone crazy. There are some people that are our main characters throughout the course of the book have managed to kind of work with scientists and the government and are in a bunker. So they're safe in a bunker. And then we look at how the scientists try and find a vaccine and a cure to this madness that's affecting everyone on the surface. And then they eventually do get that. Our main characters are able to escape from this bunker, and then it just becomes a real kind of like good versus evil science fiction battle, with a relatively positive ending. Not, but there is.
Well, don't give too much away.
No, it's really difficult to not give too much away because there's lots in there. It's very, very different to At a Time, not just in terms of it being an adult book, but I tried to, and again, only the readers will know how successfully I've done this. I'm a big fan of Stephen King, as I've said, and I'm a big fan of books like It. The books where there are so many different perspectives. So you've got so many characters, and we don't just kind of follow one or two people's point of view. And so I've tried to make it very cinematic. I think it's worked in places, but there are lots and lots of characters and lots of stories happening at the same time, and we kind of converge at the end. So
well, that sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm getting like zombie apocalypse versus.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the movie Seeking a Friend from the End of Time. I think
I haven't. I know it though. I haven't seen it.
Steve Carell and Keira Knightley, like just an amazing movie. But a matchup with that and people going crazy, sort of. I mean, and I'm guessing the people that are being affected, are they really realizing this is happening to them, and like some of them not liking it, or some of them like maybe embracing it?
So in terms of
different variants.
So in terms of kind of these ABs at the beginning, some of them do embrace it. Katie, one of the main characters, and effectively who becomes the main antagonist, she very much embraces it. Whereas other people, we meet some people later on who kind of can't really control what they're doing and the way they're behaving, and are really kind of, they're constantly feeling guilty about that, and they're not happy with the way they are, but they still turn into lizard aliens.
And that would be hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
To say the least, to say just a little bit about that, to sum it up in one word. But yeah, that's interesting. You have those characters that are like embracing it and like, no, I'm, maybe in the underworld, I'm making as much money as I can. I'm living my best life.
Yeah.
And, all the ethical implications of and psychological and sociology implications of why do some people just decide, oh, this is great, and some people decide, oh no, I have this conscience and this can happen.
And I think in the book, one of the things that I've been keen to kind of emphasize, and the characters do as well, particularly towards the end, is that these people are victims as well. So we don't go around killing them all. It's about trying, hopefully, to figure out a way to fix them and to cure them one day. So
right.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish. Sorry.
So there is a lot of action in the third act. But as I said, it's more about, and we actually, one of the main characters actually says, these are victims. We don't use bullets. We've got to try and help these people because it's not their fault.
Right. It's like alcoholism or anything like that. Like, you're like, well, we don't like this act, we don't like this, we don't like what this person is doing, but, we still have to be
absolutely
empathetic. That's the word I was searching for. Yeah. That is so interesting. Yeah. I mean, obviously there's so much to unpack, and so it feels like a very rich, round story, not just from the viewpoint of sci-fi and these people becoming aliens, but also from the viewpoint of human nature and society activity at large, right?
Yeah, and I did intention it, and that was, like I said, that was my intention. That's what I wanted to kind of make sure that was very clear within it, that we did think about that, and human nature is really important, and there is that element of survival, but also that, not pity, but that empathy for other people, knowing that what these people are doing is not their fault, so we've got to fix this somehow.
Right, but at the same time being frustrated and not liking it. Right.
But having said that, like I said, there is a lot of action in the book, and we do get down to very few people at the end of the book, so there are very few unaffected people, and I don't want to give away what happens at the end.
No, don't give away what happens. So when did this book released? In 2025, right?
Yeah, so it was released in the UK on August the 23rd, and I think September the 1st or the 2nd in the States. So it's relatively new. Like I said, there's been some lovely reviews. I'm still kind of actively promoting it with the publisher. Yeah, fingers crossed that we do well. But we're about 6-7 weeks in now.
Well, fun. Congratulations. Where do you go from here? Are you writing another children's book, or are you going adult sci-fi again?
So yes, yes and yes. So I've written two. Well, I'm writing. I'm not written. We've got first drafts of a couple of books. So the second one, very much kind of within the theme of the end. It's kind of adult. I sound like I don't really know what I want to do here, whether I want to be an adult author or a children's author. But what I would say to that is, I just do it because I enjoy it. You know, I'm not expecting to be the next Stephen King or Dan Brown. I do this because I really enjoy it. So if I enjoy writing something, then that's exactly what I'll do. So, having said that, I would love to do it full time, but it's just something I get a huge amount of enjoyment from. So the two books, the first one is called The Echo, and I'm just working through a kind of a second draft on that at the moment. And that is, again, you'll see a theme. There's a comet in that as well. But within this, it's more of a meteor. A meteor crashes on Earth, and how do I explain this again without giving too much away? Basically, what if I just tell you that it causes people to change, not in the same way. It's not really a horror. It's not a horror or science fiction book. It is sci-fi, but it's more fantasy. And what we find in the book is it causes people to change into things that used to inhabit the earth within the context of the world within the book, hundreds of thousands of years ago. And I've taken kind of elements from kind of fantasy. So we've got mermaids, we've got fairies, we've got lots of people, and I've tried to give a scientific reason why some people are affected by this. It's about being kind of that some people's distant ancestors being fairies or mermaids, and so that's still very much a work in progress. And the children's book is one that is almost finished, and that's called Amelia Wainwright and the Chimera Project. And because I wrote a book for my nephew, I wanted to write a book for my niece. Now, my niece is not called Amelia, but it's still kind of based on her, and it's about a girl who discovers the ability she finds a watch. Her father's a secret agent, and she finds a watch, and it gives her the ability to transform into any animal that she wants to.
Fun.
And
what kid wouldn't want to do that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so her father goes missing as a secret agent. She manages to find her way into his secret room, which is in their house, behind their study. She finds the watch and then ends up kind of going on this adventure with one of her father's colleagues, which takes her from England to Egypt. And there's lots of animal transformations and so they're the two that I'm currently working on.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Yes. How many nieces and nephews do you have?
4.
Okay, so there are 2 more children's books at least, right? Has to be fair.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, those sound like so much fun. I hope you will come back and tell us more about them when they release in your next projects.
Yeah.
Tell everyone where we can find you and your books.
So you can find the books on Amazon, Barnes and Noble in the UK, Waterstones, which is a big bookshop. So you can find them in all the major bookstops and online. My website is www.markgoldingauthor.com, and I have a Twitter page which is Mark Golding Author. So there's my Twitter page includes information about the stories. It's got some information about Amelia Wainwright on as well, and a little video that I did about that. It has kind of lots of information about the reviews for both books. So if anyone's interested, they can find me.
Well, fun. Thank you so much. And we'll have all your links in the description. And I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Finding the Magic podcast. I'm your host, author and podcaster Tricia Copeland, and I love getting behind the scenes. If you like the podcast, make sure to subscribe and stop in each week discover new authors and books. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep finding the magic.